Today, I'm going to be giving y'all an updated Season 3 dribble tutorial in NBA 2K22 Next Gen and Current Gen. But first, if you're looking for somebody to grind your badges, hit up Elite Badge Grinding. They're super fast and 100% legit. Click their links in the description and let them know Hambo sent you. Please, if you guys haven't done so already, scroll down, smash that big red subscribe button. We're only a few hundred subscribers away from 10K, so please subscribe to the channel. First, we're going to be starting off with some super basic dribble moves, and by the end, we're going to be doing super advanced stuff that I haven't even seen anyone else do in this game. So starting things off with the basics is going to be the crossover or between the legs and then speed boost. I'm going to go through the basics super quickly. So first, to do this move, you guys are going to want to flick your right stick diagonally up towards your off-ball hand. To do a crossover or just straight across to do it between the legs. Once you do see the ball cross, hold turbo and hold your left stick to the side you just crossed the ball to speed boost. After the patch, you can't really speed boost sideways, but you can speed boost diagonally up. So pretty much if you want to go sideways, just speed boost diagonally up and then rotate your left stick to the side after a little bit. I know 2K wanted to patch left righting, but you really still can left right if you want to. To make this speed boost as quick as possible, I'd recommend using Derrick Rose SIG size up, which is what most people use. Personally, I don't use it, and you guys can see all of my SIGs in the video in the card above and at the end screen. The next move is going to be the big crossover. To do this move, it's pretty much the exact same thing as the normal crossover, but you need to be holding turbo. So hold turbo and flick your right stick diagonally up towards your off-ball hand. So if the ball's in your left hand, for example, hold turbo and flick your right stick to around 1 or 2 o'clock. And then if the ball's in your right hand, hold turbo and flick your right stick to 10 or 11 o'clock. Move number 3 is going to be a momentum crossover. It's basically the exact same thing as the big crossover, but right when you flick your right stick, you're also going to follow up by flicking your left stick in the same direction. If the ball's in your left hand, you're going to want to flick to 1 or 2 o'clock with your right stick, and then flick to 1 or 2 o'clock again with your left stick this time. Also, something added in 2K22 is if you do any sort of crossover and then hold your left stick the opposite direction, you can get a momentum, which is pretty cool as well. Next, for the fourth move of this video is going to be the pullback. This is literally the exact same thing as the momentum. However, instead of flicking diagonally in the same direction with your left stick, you're going to want to flick straight down. So if the ball's in your left hand, flick your right stick to 1 or 2 o'clock and then flick your left stick straight down to 6 o'clock. Next, on to the moving behind the back. This move is very important for getting up and down the floor, and as an isoer, this move is also very important. To do this move, you need to be running straight with turbo and flick your right stick diagonally down towards your off-ball hand. So if the ball's in your left hand, flick to like 4 or 5 o'clock, and if it's in your right hand, flick to 7 or 8 o'clock. If you have equipped either the LeBron James size of escape package or the Damian Lillard size of escape package, you can do the step back move. To do this move, you need to hold turbo and then just flick your right stick straight down to 6 o'clock. Those 6 moves that I covered are pretty much the only moves you need to know in this game. Go into the stage or the park and I can guarantee almost 90% of players are using some combination of those moves, especially the first 4. I would say get those 6 moves down packed because the next moves are going to be more for ISO players, and at the end we're going to get pretty fancy. So moving on to more of the ISO section of this video, we're going to start kind of simple with the fake out escapes. There are 4 total escapes in this game: the crossover escape, the between the legs escape, behind the back escape, and finally the hezzy escape. For the crossover escape, you're going to want to start by holding turbo and flicking your right stick diagonally up towards your on-ball hand. For the between the legs escape, start by flicking your right stick straight across towards your off-ball hand. And then for the behind the back escape, start by flicking your right stick diagonally down towards your off-ball hand. After you've done that, flick your left stick in the opposite direction. So this way, he kind of does the crossover, but then goes backwards. For the hezzy escape, it's going to be a little bit different because you're going to want to flick your right stick to your on-ball hand with turbo, but then you need to release turbo and flick your left stick in the opposite direction you flicked your right stick. For dribble move number 2 on the ISO list is going to be the basic one, spins. This is the best ISO dribble move in this game, and in order to do this move, you need to be running straight with turbo and rotate your right stick from the bottom to the top. You don't have to be running entirely straight, and later in the video, I'm going to talk about how depending on which way you're running, you can do different combos. If the ball's in your left hand, you need to rotate your right stick counterclockwise, and if the ball's in your right hand, you need to rotate it clockwise. This is overall a great way to start combos, and another great way I like to start combos is through a backwards half spin. To do this move, obviously, you need to be running backwards and rotate your right stick from the bottom to the top. This time, however, it's kind of reversed. If the ball's in your left hand, you need to rotate it clockwise. If the ball's in your right hand, you need to rotate it counterclockwise. Now, out of either the basic one or the backwards half spin, you're going to want to do something called a connector, which is pretty much the way you connect dribble moves into other dribble moves and change direction. Pretty much to do a connector, you need to understand which direction your player is traveling. Let's say you're running to around 2 o'clock and the ball's in your right hand. You're going to want to pretty much move your left stick in the opposite direction, but a little bit backwards. So in this case, to around 7 o'clock. It also works the other way. So if you're running to around 7 o'clock, then move your left stick to around 2 o'clock. If you want the between the legs connector, you basically just need to do the same exact thing, but hold your left stick more forwards instead of backwards. Out of these connectors, there is a myriad of moves that you can do, my personal favorite being the nutmeg. This move is kind of simple, but at the same time, kind of not. You need to be running mostly or entirely straight and then flick your right stick diagonally down towards your off ball hand like a behind the back, but then immediately flick your right stick diagonally up towards your on ball hand like a crossover. So if the ball's in your left hand, you're going to want to flick your right stick to around 4 or 5 o'clock and then immediately flick your right stick to 1 or 2 o'clock. If you want to turn sideways or even backwards while doing these moves, you need to turn while flicking your right sticks. A great move to do out of the nutmeg is the double crossover, since the ball's in your inside hand and you're going kind of sideways. To do a double crossover, you're going to want to flick your right stick diagonally up towards your off ball hand, and then immediately after, diagonally up back the other way. Also, this entire time, you should not be holding turbo. So if the ball's in your left hand without turbo, flick your right stick to around 1 o'clock, then immediately flick your right stick again to around 10 or 11 o'clock. I use the John Wall moving crossover since I think this is the most glitchy double crossover in the game. Keeping up with the theme of double crossovers, let's talk about the double between the legs. You can do this with any crossover animation such as the John Wall cross, but in my opinion, the best animation for spamming the between the legs is going to be Giannis Antetokounmpo. To do this move, you need to be running straight and then move your left stick diagonally up towards your off ball hand, and then flick your right stick across towards your off ball hand. And then if you want to spam it, just repeat this process again and again. So if the ball's in my right hand, I'm going to want to move my left stick to 11 o'clock. And then I'm going to want to flick my right stick straight across to 3. And if I want to do it again, I would just move my left stick to 11 again and flick my right stick to 3 again. So for the next move of this video is going to be the stutter step spins or explosive behind the backs. I don't really know what to call this, but it's just what we're going to go with for now. This move is actually very simple. I probably should have had it earlier in the video, but to do this move, you're going to want to tap L2 and spin your right stick towards your off ball hand. So if the ball's in your left hand, for example, you're going to want to run, tap L2 and spin your right stick basically from anywhere to anywhere, but you need to make sure you're going counterclockwise. And then if the ball's in your right hand, you need to spin it clockwise. This move can get pretty glitchy when you're going backwards or sideways since it kind of flips you around. To change things up, you can also do an explosive behind the back, which I'm sure most of you guys know how to do. You're going to want to flick your right stick diagonally down towards your off ball hand, but then follow it by flicking your left stick in the same direction, however kind of upwards like a memento. This is again super glitchy, especially with the Trae Young size of escape package. The next move is going to be the teleport step back, which again is not that hard. To do this move, you're going to want to hold turbo and hold your right stick for a split second diagonally down towards your off ball hand. So if the ball's in your right hand, hold turbo and hold your right stick diagonally down towards your off ball hand at 7 or 8 o'clock. And then if the ball's in your left hand, hold turbo and hold your right stick to 4 or 5 o'clock. A great way to set this move up is by doing a momentum and then hopping back, which just creates a ton of space. The next move is going to be a running dribble move, and that is the running half spin. To do this move, obviously, you need to be running and rotate your right stick from the side to the top. If the ball's in your left hand, rotate it from the left to the top, and if it's in your right hand, rotate it from the right to the top. Now, there are two versions. There's the slow version, which you do not want to be doing, and then there's the fast version. The only way I've found to guarantee the fast version is by comboing into it. My favorite way of doing this is just by doing a behind the back and then doing the half spin. Now, as I said, we're going to get more in depth about comboing up with the basic one spin. But also, depending on the orientation of your spin, you can do different combos. For example, if you're running more towards your ball side, you can do this glitchy little flop if you rotate your right stick from your off ball side to the top. So if the ball's in your left hand and you just did the spin, then rotate your right stick from, let's say, 3 o'clock to the top. Let's say you do the basic one spin, but you're running more towards your off-ball side, so you're almost sideways. If you've done this, then you can do a really glitchy hop back by flicking your right stick to your on-ball hand. So if the ball's in your right hand and you just did the basic one spin, flick your right stick to the right, and if it's in your left hand, flick to the left. Finally, for the most advanced dribble move in this game is this little backwards basic one spin. As of right now, I think I'm the only person that I've seen do this move. I'm sure others have already done this, but I just haven't seen it anywhere. I only know one way of doing this move as of right now, and that is first do a connector and then do a sideways behind the back. Once you've done this, you're going to want to rotate your left stick towards the bottom and then continue rotating until you get diagonally down towards your off-ball hand. So your player should be running kind of backwards almost. Then you're going to want to spin your right stick like you're doing a basic one spin, and you should get this animation if you did it correctly. So the full thing is step 1, do a connector. Step 2, run sideways and then do it behind the back. Then if the ball's in your right hand, rotate your left stick around until you get to 7 o'clock and then spin your right stick from the bottom to the top clockwise, and you should get the basic one. If you don't get this move at first, it's fine. It took me forever to learn how to do this move, and even now I can only do it like 50% of the time. As I said at the beginning of the video, we are so close to 10,000 subscribers, so please subscribe to the channel. Also, if you did make it this far, let me know in the comment section. I'm trying to see who's rocking with me before 10K. There's a jump shot video and my dribble sigs on the screen right now. Go follow me on Twitter, and I'm out. Peace.